Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan. The current date is Monday, June 5th, 2017, and the current time is approximately 8:35 p.m. So I am participating in Arwen Lynch's Tarot Tag 15, or rather, pardon me, hashtag Tarot Tag 15. And I want to first acknowledge my two newest YouTube channel subscribers. They are Starshine and Two Spirit. Starshine and Two Spirit. And I also want to acknowledge Two Spirit for divinely inspiring me to participate in Arwen Lynch's Tarot Tag 15. So I'm going to be looking back and forth and looking away and stuff. So first I want to go to the first question in her Tarot Tag 15, which is, what is your current favorite deck? So my current favorite tarot decks right now are the Mythological Goddess Tarot, which was created by the late and great Sage Holloway and illustrated by the current and great Catherine Skaggs. And I actually had the honor and pleasure of reviewing this deck both on my WordPress blog, This Is Who I Am, and on my YouTube channel. And this deck I tend to use when the moon is waxing, meaning when it's going from new to full. When the moon is waning, going from full to new, I use the Dark Goddess Tarot, created and illustrated by Ellen Lorenzi Prince. This is actually one that I'm long overdue to review. Some of you know I'm getting caught up on deck review videos and whatnot. So if the moon is waxing from new to full, the Mythological Goddess Tarot. If the moon is waning from full to new, the Dark Goddess Tarot. Okay, so what tarot, this is question number one. So question number two is, what tarot card do you think stands for who you are now? You know, honestly, for me, it's always the High Priestess. I know that I'm male, and I'm male-born male, and I'm not a woman to male transgender, but for me, the High Priestess card represents my soul. And I know that there was a numerological calculation for determining one's soul card. That's not how I mean it. I mean, like, when I resonate on a very deep psychic and energetic level with the High Priestess card. The High Priestess card for me is a very powerful representation of my celestial mother, Osset, the ancient Egyptian goddess more commonly known as Isis, who's on my bracelet and who's here. So for me, that's my soul card, and that's the card that I connect with, and that for me is the constant. And sometimes I forget that I am that energy, and I was recently reminded that I am that energy. So now, question number three, what tarot card do you think stands for who you want to be? Well, I decided that, since I am a gay man, to use from the Gay Tarot, which is another deck that I need to review, the Sage of Coins card, which is more commonly known as the King of Pentacles. So this is where I want to get back to being. I want to get back to being in a place where I am more comfortable financially, where I am more secure mentally and emotionally with my financial outlook, and more comfortable with my body. By the way, this is the High Priestess card in the Gay Tarot, which is renamed the Intuitive in this deck, and I love that, like him, like me, he has dark hair. So that is question number three. Question number four. Draw a tarot card and tell us how it answers the question, what does the universe want you to know right now? So since the moon is waxing from new to full, I'm going to use the Mythological Goddess Tarot. I'm going to make sure I have all the cards. Wouldn't want to be like walking around without a full deck. See, only people that read cards can say that joke. So, I call upon the goddesses lovingly and lavishly represented in this deck, and I ask, what does the universe want me to know right now? What does the universe want me to know right now? Seven of Wind, which is more commonly known as the Seven of Swords. So I need to guard against pessimism. I need to make sure that I am thinking not just positively but prosperously, that I am focusing my mind on what I want and not on what I do not want. And I also need to focus on what it is that I want and need and deserve. Not what I am afraid of, not what I do not want, but focus solely on lifting up my thoughts to a very spiritually uplifting and prosperous place. Okay. Card number 5. Do you have any cards that you must love in order to work with a tarot deck? Absolutely. The High Priestess card. The High Priestess card is the card that represents my celestial mother, the ancient Egyptian goddess more commonly known as Osset, who is more commonly known as Isis. If a High Priestess card does not have that certain look, that certain energetic feel, that certain color scheme, I won't use it. Over the years, I have been drawn to very unusual tarot decks, and when I look at the High Priestess card, if I get something like, oh no, or if I get like, ugh, or if I get like, oh, then I can't use it, and I won't. I've had tarot decks that have been given to me as gifts from clients, from students and friends, that had High Priestess cards that were like, and as a result, I have not used it. High Priestess card for me needs to have what I have come to call standards of Osseticity, because Osset is one of Isis's ancient Egyptian names. So it must have the standards of Osseticity that for me represent the energy, the honoring, loving, uplifting, and exalting energy of the Lady of Words of Power, of the Mistress of Magic, of the Queen of Healers. And if it doesn't, I cannot use that tarot deck. Okay, let's see. Question number 6. Why tarot and not some other divination system? Well, truth be told, I do use other divination systems. I do use oracle card decks. I've studied palmistry. I've studied clairvoyance. I've studied runes. I've studied numerology. I love all of those divination systems, but the one that is a constant for me, the one that I go to before any other is the Sacred Tarot. Recently I was talking to a good friend of mine, and I was telling him, you know, it's not a coincidence that from the very first time that I became active on the internet, meaning registering for websites or, you know, determining my email addresses, it always starts with the Tarot Man. It's always the Tarot Man. You can go to any website and, you know, it's like the Tarot Man is almost always me. And that's just how it is with me. It's like, yeah, it's like the Tarot Man, because I am the Tarot Man. Okay. Question number 7. What's the first book you can remember reading about tarot, other than the LWB, more commonly also known as the Little White Book? This one I had to look up because I could not remember the exact title, but the author's name is Eden Gray, and the book is entitled Mastering the Tarot. This was a book that was published in 1973 when I was 3, but I didn't begin studying the tarot until I was about 16 and a half. But I really began studying the tarot when I was around 26 or 27 or so, or maybe 23. And that's when I began doing research on the tarot, meaning reading books on tarot and things like that, because all of my interpretations were intuitive. They weren't ones that I had ever read in a book. And then when people began expressing an interest in wanting me to teach them the tarot, I thought to myself, you know, I need to learn the traditional meanings because I don't know what they are. So that was one of the first books that I ever read on the tarot, and I always loved Eden Gray's works. I always really enjoyed her books. I resonated with them very much. Okay, now question number 8. What tarot person would you like to sit down with for a chat about tarot? As Two Spirit mentioned in his tag video for Arwen Lynch's Tarot Tag 15, there's no indication if the person is dead or alive. So if the person is dead, I'm going to use his answer, because it's a great answer, and say Pamela Coleman Smith, or rather the late and great Pamela Coleman Smith, who is the artist who illustrated the Rider-Waite Tarot, which is also known as the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. And I would love to ask her similar questions as Two Spirit, like, how did you come up with these ideas, and did you have any dreams about these ideas and these images, and why did certain color schemes resonate with you more than others? Person alive, it's a toss-up between two people, namely Lisa Hunt and Shiro Marchetti. I have virtually every tarot deck that they've illustrated. I love their artistic styles. I love their energies. I love the way they write. I have visited their websites on numerous occasions. I resonate very strongly with their artistic styles, and I certainly would enjoy sitting down and having a very long chat with either one of them or both of them at the same time. That would be for me better than sex. Okay, question number 9. Tell me about one YouTube tarot channel that you watch and why. There are several, and I have become a big fan of Two Spirits YouTube channel. I've seen several videos by Arwen Lynch, of course, but the one that I love really very much, for many reasons, is Owl Moon 513. And she doesn't just talk about tarot and oracle card decks, but you know, in many of my first regular YouTube videos, I would credit Owl Moon 513 and Avalon Spiritual Odyssey and Homegirl, Ember Honey Raven, with reconnecting me to, or rather reawakening within me this spiritual substance, this spiritual energy. But what I love about Owl Moon 513's deck videos is she has videos where she will talk about and show some of the cards of the different decks that she's working with for a particular season. Like, for example, autumn 2016 or winter 2017 or spring 2015 or whatever. You know, I love those videos, and it's funny because I know that there are other YouTube channel content creators who do those kinds of videos, but hers are the only ones that I watch of that kind. And I just love them. I love them so much. Yeah. Okay. And there are others that I've discovered that are also, you know, talk about tarot and oracle card decks, and I really love their videos. But those are the ones that came up to my mind first. Okay, so question number 10. How many tarot decks do you have? Well, I can only make videos with this camcorder in 20-minute installments. So if I had to give you a number, I would say I have somewhere between 100 to 200 tarot decks. And let's just go middle of the road and say I have about 150 to 200 tarot decks. That is not including oracle card decks, divination decks, other divinatory devices and systems like runes, rune stones, pendulums, other kinds of divination systems, etc. But just tarot decks, including ones that are by themselves and ones that are kits, I have between 150 and 200. I tell people, if you do not want to acquire more than the one deck you have, or the 2 decks you have, or the 3 decks you have, stay away from me. Because people that spend time with me spend time with me in person, or participate in my classes or have readings with me, they wind up buying more tarot decks or divination decks than they anticipated. Yeah. Okay, so question 11. Do you mix oracles and tarot when you read? If I'm divinely guided, I do. With private readings, I use one divination deck to begin the reading, and if I'm using a tarot deck, I'll use that tarot deck, and then I will use an oracle card deck to close that reading. There have been times when I have conducted a reading with two tarot decks at the same time, meaning just one client. There have been times where I've combined a tarot deck and an oracle card deck, again, for the same one client. And there have been times when I have used several tarot decks or oracle card decks in the same reading for the same client. So it ultimately depends on my divine guidance. With some people, I know that I'm going to use more than one deck for the main part of his or her reading. Just to give you an example, I remember I once gave a client a reading with the Universal Goddess Tarot, which was created by Maria Caratti and illustrated by Antonella Platano. And I also used in that same reading for that same client Doreen Virtue's Goddess Guidance Oracle cards. So I knew that I was going to use those two decks for the main part of that reading with that one client at the same time. Question number 12. Have you ever created your own tarot card or tarot deck? The answer to both is no. I have many skills and many talents. I am not quite artistically skilled. And I have a feeling that I will need to make this video a little bit more than 20 minutes long, so I do apologize for that. My intent was to speed up a little bit faster, but some of these answers do need a little more depth. And I'm going to make sure that my amazing computer tech person, who is also my awesome audio visual person, will make sure that there are no problems. Right? Right? Okay, he's saying right. He's nodding his head. He's doing this. So, as much as I love the skills and talents that I have, fine art is not one of them. And I also know that I am not interested right now, anyway, in spending the time, the energy, the money to develop those fine art skills. There are so many brilliant artists that create the illustrations of tarot decks and oracle card decks that are just outstandingly talented. Lisa Hunt is one of them, Antonella Platano is another, and I can go on and on and on. But the fact of the matter is that, yes, that's a skill that I do not have. I've always thought about commissioning an artist to illustrate a tarot deck that I would create, but that's something that's well on the back burner for me. It's been on the back burner for a while, and it's certainly something that I've thought about, and I probably will do it someday, but it's not a priority right now. So I apologize to those of you who would love to see a tarot deck created by Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, but it's not happening right now. Okay. Question number 13. How perfect that this is the 13th question. Do you read for yourself? I do. I actually do give myself readings, but the way that I give myself readings is very involved. And I'm sorry. So does that mean I need to pause, or does that mean that I need to keep going, or what? Okay. So he and I are going to figure this out, where we will be able to communicate with each other non-verbally and without using speech. We just haven't figured that out yet, but I promise you we're going to figure it out sooner or later. So I do have a notebook that I use just for giving myself multi-card readings with oracle card decks. And I also have a notebook that I use for giving myself multi-card readings with tarot decks. Now, I prepare myself a certain way. Okay, so I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just like not fully understanding what my audio visual person wants me to understand. So I'm going to keep going. So what I've come to realize is, let's say that I'll use this card. Not surprisingly, this is the Death card in the Dark Goddess Tarot. So let's say that I was giving myself a reading, and the question was, what else do I need to do to enhance my spirituality? And the interpretation I got was 10 words. I would need to literally write down those 10 words. No editing of any kind, no shortening of any kind, no abbreviations. I would literally need to write out those 10 words. It is a very lengthy process. I would not necessarily call it arduous, but I would say that if I edit anything that I receive from Spirit when I'm giving myself a reading, it's not going to work. That's confirmation. I may do a video about that sometime, or I may not, who knows. So I do give myself readings. It's very infrequent. Sometimes it's a spur of the moment thing. Recently on my Instagram account, I had done 2 on-the-spot readings for myself using 2 different decks, and I posted what those cards were, what those decks were, and it was very impromptu. But for me, it's I don't like doing that with clients, and I really don't like doing that with myself. So the shorter answer for that question is yes, I do give myself readings. I do not do it that often. I need to prepare myself a certain way, because I find that when I do prepare myself a certain way, those readings are more insightful and they're more accurate. Question number 14. What are your favorite questions to be asked when you do a reading for someone else? I'll tell you a story. So, several years ago, I had the honor and pleasure of appearing on an internet radio show called Keith and the Girl. And I will tell you that I was very happy with the number of clients that would come to me for readings after they heard me on Keith and the Girl. And there was one client in particular, and it's amazing, all these years later, I do not remember her name. I don't remember where she lives. I don't remember what else she asked me, but there was one question that she asked, and it was an email reading too, so she would email the questions to me prior to the beginning of the reading. And the question was, what can I do to deepen my Celtic spirituality? And I was like, oh, I was just so floored. And I remember thinking to myself, why doesn't everybody else ask me this question? I mean, really, I was just like, that's such a fucking powerful, badass, fucking good question. Why doesn't everybody ask me that? And, you know, don't get me wrong. I know that whatever question a client asks when he or she's paying to have a reading with me is a very important question. But some of them are like, okay, does he love me? Does she love me? What is he thinking about me? Is she thinking about me? I mean, I get it. Listen, it wasn't that long ago that... No, I never used to ask those questions because I was always very frustrated with the answers, and I would always get so depressed afterwards that I stopped asking those questions. So if the love question came up in my own readings, when I was getting a reading from somebody else, then I'd be okay. But yeah, I never asked those questions because I would always get depressed with the answer, even if it was a good answer. So I decided, you know, I'm going to stop asking that question. But I would love if more people asked me questions about their own spiritual development and their psychic development and their spirituality. I'm somebody that does not get impressed very easily or very often, but if you want to impress the motherfucking fucking shit out of me like this, that's a great way to do it. As you can see, I'm very passionate about people asking about spirituality. Almost zealously, but still. Okay. Question number 15, and this is the last question. What's the craziest thing that's happened to you during a reading? Oh. Oh, this is funny. So the very first time that I gave readings professionally, I was giving readings in a cafe. And I remember it was during their open mic poetry nights. And I remember I was giving readings, and I usually gave readings in between sets, like when the poets weren't doing their poetry, which I felt more comfortable doing it that way. But I remember I was about to give my fourth reading of the night, and it was midnight, and the lights went out. And automatically I said, I didn't do that. And the client leaned over to me and she said to me, you know, everybody looked over here when the lights went out. I said, I know. That's why I said, I didn't do that. Now, for the record, I didn't consciously know that everybody looked in my direction when the lights went out. But, you know, it was midnight. I was giving a reading. The lights went out. I'm like, you know what? I want to make sure these people know I did not do this. So what did I do? I said, I didn't do this. Anyway, so that's question number 15. And Arwen Lynch, thank you for this tarot tag. To Spirit, thank you for doing Arwen Lynch's tarot tag. And thank you for being my newest YouTube channel subscriber. And Starshine, thank you for being my newest YouTube channel subscriber as well. And, you know, I had a lot, I enjoyed this video very much. I enjoyed getting a little crazy because I'm very, you know, I'm very reserved and I'm very subdued and you know, I'm very self-expressed, but I'm also very subdued and I'm very, you know, like reserved and whatnot. So I enjoyed getting a little crazy. And if you feel divinely guided to do your own tarot tag, by all means, please do so. I would love to watch your video. I think this would, if you do it, it would be a video response. I think. I'm not sure. I know what video response videos are. I don't do them that often. I don't watch them that often. But technically, if you watch Arwen Lynch's Tarot Tag 15 video, you've been tagged. And technically, if you watch any video that has the hashtag Tarot Tag 15, you've been tagged. So tag, you're it. Thank you, YouTube, for honoring who I am and what I do. I wish you a beautiful evening, a wonderful week, and many blessings and gifts and miracles.